Hey there, Don. Welcome to publishingwithkindle.com, our special copy masterclass. I'm here with Don Grace, who's an 8-figure copywriter. He's written some crazy copy for people like Ryan Deiss and Howie Schwartz and many other big names. He's a 2-time best-selling Kindle author, and he has online products. He's done a lot of stuff. And we are very lucky to have him here to talk about copy for your Kindle book, your Kindle book description on Amazon, why it shouldn't suck, and also some tips about getting some cool book titles, and give you some ideas on how to word your marketing to make more sales. Hi, Don.
Hi, Shira. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome. Super lucky to have you here. And before we go a little bit deeper into what you do, and let's just tell people who are watching that we did have a little contest, and we're going to continue it today. Best question gets a free book description review by you and me. And we also have a contest for best comment on the website, so we'll see what happens there. And since I haven't said it, I'm Shira Gal. I'm a Kindle publishing coach, internet marketing consultant, and I live and breathe authors and publishing. And I'm happy to have you here, so welcome everyone, and let's get started right away. So I'm on my daughter's laptop, and it sounds like it's about to take off. So guys, if you have some background noise, I'm sorry. I hope we stay seated.
Put your seats in the upright position and fasten your seat belts.
Exactly. Exactly. So I know your microphone is a little challenged there. So if you guys can't hear Don, please let us know in the chat, and we'll try to make him shout.
All right. I'll raise the volume of my voice. Is that better?
Funnily, no.
Jeez.
Okay, but no worries. Let's get started. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about what copywriting is and why it's so important?
Copywriting is mainly salesmanship and print. So instead of doing face-to-face selling, one-on-one, let's say if you were selling used cars or something like that, one person at a time, when you have your copy out there, you can sell to hundreds, thousands, and even millions of people all at the same time by having your words in print and having them persuade people to buy your product if it's right for them. You know, it's nothing tricky. It's nothing deceptive or anything like that. It's really about positioning your product, and in this case, your book, into a point where people say, "Oh yeah, I want to read this. This is awesome for me." And it doesn't matter if it's a fictional book or a self-help or nonfiction type of book. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the first piece of copy really on for your book is going to be your book title. And I've seen a lot of. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said absolutely. You know, and so you want it to be compelling, to be able to kind of grab their attention, because you're going to be competing with so many people in the Kindle marketplace, or even in the if you're selling a physical book, in that marketplace there's so many different books. You want your title to make people slap themselves on the forehead and say, "Oh shoot, I want to see what this is about." It's kind of like if you go into a rare situation these days, such as Barnes & Noble, which kind of doesn't exist anymore as far as physical bookstores, but you know, when you go in there and you browse the books, when you see a good title, you pull it off. The next thing you do is you read the back of the book to see what it's all about, and then if you're compelled, you go and flip through a few of the pages, right? And this is the same thing when it's digital, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the thing is that we have authors here that are participating, and they are both fiction and nonfiction authors, and there's a big difference in how you construct a great book title for a fiction book or a nonfiction book. And so let's talk about that a little bit, even though a lot of these authors are very well established, they have a lot of books, and they probably really are attached to their titles. But let's go through a few examples of what's good in a fiction title and what's good in a nonfiction title.
All right, sounds great.
So in a, sorry?
Did you want to pull, can we do, can we actually go into the marketplace on this platform and look at a few, or?
Yeah, we can. Are you able to, or would you like me to do that?
Yeah, you know what? I need to watch your screen for some reason. Mine is frozen. So,
okay. Yeah.
It's you and
the wonder of Google Hangouts. Yeah, next time it'll be amazing. Don't worry. Okay, so we're gonna do a screen share, and we're gonna go to Amazon. Let's go to Amazon. We actually selected one book before, and but we're gonna look. We could also do a random search, or whatever you guys request. So, can you see my screen?
yes.
Awesome. So what we see here is, oh, I have to present to everyone because not everyone is seeing that. So there we go. Now everyone can see my screen. There we go. All right, here's a title for you. Nonfiction in Kindle, the 100 best nonfiction books. And then in parentheses it says top 100 book 6, whatever that means.
Yeah, I have no flippin' idea what that means.
Yeah. So.
Oh, start, right?
What's that?
That's kind of the whole problem, just to start with just in the title. Why it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's the first problem with this title. Even without getting even into some advanced copywriting tips, the title makes no sense whatsoever. Because nonfiction books, it's like half of Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to make a compilation of the best nonfiction books, you better be famous and you better tell me that it's you. Otherwise, I'm not interested, right?
Yeah, and if you're going to charge $3 for it, I mean, yeah, granted, $3 is not that much, but who's going to spend it?
Yeah, it's actually $1.99, I think, or 99 cents. It's because I'm out of the U.S. that the price is different.
Oh.
In the U.S., I can tell you. I'm just quickly. It's a 99-cent book. So they're going for the 99-cent feed on Amazon, and if you guys don't know what that is, you should go to publishingwithkindle.com and search for a 99-cent book, and you'll find some information on that. But what we really want to take a look at is, why don't we, instead of bashing this, because there really is nothing that makes sense in this title, why don't you give us some idea as a copywriter, like how would you go about cleaning this up?
Oh, okay. Let me think for 1 second.
Get the creative juices flowing.
Do I don't know. You're actually sticking me with a pretty good challenge here.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot actually because we haven't discussed this before. But you know what? Let's make it easy. Let's take off the nonfiction in Kindle, right? This looks like totally built for search engines and not for people, right? Looks like someone's trying to really dupe the system using these keywords and not really. You're not going to gain any readership. This book does not have reviews, doesn't have a lot of readership, and so while you're thinking about this, from my perspective, you know, when people ask me about keywords and titles and should I SEO it, should I manipulate my title to contain certain words so that it'll be found more, shown more on Amazon, because a nonfiction in Kindle, if you start typing into the Amazon search nonfiction in Kindle, because that's a popular search, the book does come up. However, it's not making sales, so you know it's not really helping it trying to dupe the system. I hope that was. Did you get what I'm saying on that?
Well, yeah. Obviously, whoever wrote it is doing exactly what you're talking about. So maybe a different approach might be good. Maybe a review approach. Maybe a Cliff Note approach. I remember seeing something. I forget who put it out, but they kind of did the Cliff Note versions of a bunch of really cool books at one time, and that sold like hotcakes.
Yeah.
Because you could get the gist of a 500-page book in 20 pages, and so if they wanted to actually do this and benefit people or benefit their audience, they could have spent a little extra time maybe doing something like that, and then maybe retitling it to, I don't know, the top 100 non-fit. All right, here's the thing about copywriting. A lot of times we tend to write 30 or so headlines until we come up with a perfect one.
The thing is that it's also really hard to know what's in the book, right? Because when I actually look in the click inside, or there are a lot more things wrong with this page, by the way, and we are going to talk about them. But when I look inside the book, they're actually talking about spies and suspense books, and it's a certain genre of books, and none of that information is actually coming across in the title or really in the description. So, you know, probably I know that when we worked on book titles and descriptions, the first thing you do is you actually read the book. At the very least, you read most of the book, and to get a really good idea of what the book is about, what the highlights are, and so on. So, you know, in fiction, it's an easier task sometimes because it's a more abstract process. And what you really want to keep in mind is what's the benefit to the user? Why do they want this? What's in it for them? It's not really about you, the author. It's more about what's going to entice the user or the reader or the browser to purchase your book and read it, or even just to click and read more on the description, and then to read more and then click on the buy now, and then to actually open the book on their Kindle and actually read the book. Those are a lot of steps, and none of them can be taken for granted.
That makes a lot of sense, especially when it comes down to when we're talking about the genre. Nonfiction, what does that cover? I mean, so many different things. Maybe somebody's into science fiction. Maybe somebody's into mythology. Maybe somebody's into mystery. Maybe somebody's into romance novels or something like that. Who knows what this includes? Who knows what it's about? So that's the first thing. The biggest problem that I see is, what's it about? You know, is this what I'm interested in? Nonfiction is just way too broad of a category.
And also best, when they say the best 100, right? Top 100, best 100. So if you guys are going to say this is the best 100, then you need to explain how you got to decide that these were the best. You know, what did you base your decision on? You know, did you read 101 books and list 100, or is it based on bestseller ranking, on comments, on popularity, on viral, viral spread? What's it based on, really?
Right. What search did they do when they went to Amazon to
exactly
this list?
Exactly. So this is a really polar example of what not to do in nonfiction. But really, what you want to do is you want to have the title somehow talk about what's in the book, or at least what you can expect to get out of the book. you know, at the very least. So, and be clear about it, because if it's just, if you think it's sexy, not everyone's going to think it's sexy, because everyone's got different tastes, and sexy doesn't really make, you know, make the sales when people are buying nonfiction. So, other than simplify, give it meaning.
I just think it's not about you, it's about them. It's about your reader. And so
Exactly.
you want to talk in their language and show you why it's about them. And you need to have an avatar of your reader. Who is your audience? You know, male, female, what is their age? What's their demographic? You know, you can even go down deeper into spiritual beliefs and things like that, or you can go into the average income. I mean, you can really profile a person. You should actually create an avatar of your ideal customer and name that avatar. You know, give it a name like Joe. And if that's your audience is male, how old is Joe? What does Joe do for a living? How much money does Joe make? What does Joe do when he's not working? You know, does he go outdoors and do outdoor stuff, or, you know, whatever? Does he travel the world? And when you know all these types of things, and you can pinpoint your avatar, you're going to completely target your audience that wants to read your book.
Especially since you're then writing in their voice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So a big part of copywriting is, it's really, you know, everything you're describing. You really need to research your market. You need to know who you're talking to, and then talk to them in their language.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to be fancy with the language either. You know, this I'm going to give you a little tip right here. The lower the reading level that you make it, and I don't care if you're writing towards PhDs or anything like that. We all have what was coined by Gary Halbert as the lizard brain, our primal instincts. And that is what we respond to most. And so when you can get everything at that level, and I actually use a program in Word that does a spell check, and it's called the Kincaid-Fletch reading level, and I try to get it at 4th grade with everything I do. Can't always do it, but you just keep it simple, like the old KISS formula, keep it simple, stupid. You know, it totally works. Because ultimately, as humans, that's what we like. We like it simple, and especially if we're talking nonfiction here, what are we doing? We want an escape. We want an escape from reality. We want to go join a different world and, you know, pretend like all of our problems don't exist with work and, you know, whatever your life is like, you know, kids, day-to-day living, and, you know, just keeping your head above water. And so when you keep it that simple.
Those are great tips. And by the way, for anyone who's watching, we have a great post on publishingwithkindle.com. It's called to do with grade level and the Kincaid test that you have been, actually showed me. And so if you just search reading level or grade level on the site, you'll find it. And simple language, right? Lizard brain. And what's that?
No, yeah, exactly. It's really that simple. You know, you don't have to get complicated and talk in, you know, really complicated languages. Even if you think you do, you actually don't. Even if your audience is, you know, like I said, PhDs and stuff like that, when you get down to brass tacks, they're just as human as you are. You know, and they experience the same emotions and everything. So you want to go for all that at the emotional level and connect with it.
So copy that makes you feel something sells better than copy that doesn't make you feel anything, right?
Of course, that's what copy is all about. It's all about bringing out the emotions.
So let me show you what this author did, an additional huge fail, and it's funny because when I asked you to find a book with a terrible book description on Amazon, you came up with this one. And I said, what's bad about the description? You said, there is none. Well, you see, the thing is that there is a book description here, only it's just absolutely horrible. And so let me show you what that looks like. So if can you see me scrolling now?
Yes.
Okay. So I scroll down, and I'm on a laptop. So on my desktop computer, where I have a much bigger screen, the cutoff for the scroll is higher, right? So you can sort of get to here on my computer without scrolling. And everything you see before you start scrolling is called above the fold, right? Mm-hmm. And in copywriting, that's really, really important. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what we should try to achieve above the fold and why that's so important?
All right, well, 80% of it is going to be your headline and what we call the debt copy, which is the first couple of lines right below your headline. And the headline is either going to resonate and draw people in to read more and then read your debt copy, or it's not. It's really that simple. So you need your headline, and in the case of writing a book, you need it to be super compelling because it only has one purpose, to get them to read the next line. And then every line after that actually has the same purpose, to get them to read the next line to the point where they're hooked. And that's when they say, oh yeah, I need this book, I need to read it. You know, this sounds awesome. Or they're going to be completely turned off and go to a different book that sounds better to them.
Absolutely. So Amazon actually makes it difficult for you because they've really cluttered up this page with stuff that wasn't always here. So what happens on Amazon, you can see what I'm looking at here. You have the title. This is your headline, right? The title. Whoa. No mouse here, just my fingers. So this is the title, right? It's the title of the book. That's basically the headline of the page. And the visual title is the book cover, right? The visual aid that goes with that. Is that going to grab you or is it not going to grab you? And so on. So, and then Amazon actually is making it a little bit difficult to sell here because now they have this whole block of stuff from here. This is all relatively new. It wasn't here a while back. Okay, all this chunk of junk is nothing to do with your book, really. It's not going to help you sell. The length used to be on the bottom. Now it's on top. Like, why do I care right now how long it is? Word-wise, enabled. A link to get a Kindle. So they're taking me off the page from your book, you know, to buy a Kindle. So that's really great for selling my book. And okay, it's part of a series, so that's what that book 6 meant. And so they did a series approach, and I actually have a great article on publishingwithkindle.com about serializing content on Kindle, but this is not what I meant. And then they also have their pitch for you to read, to get the Kindle free reading app. And I guess they added this because a lot of people weren't buying Kindle books, so they said that, you know, they didn't know that you don't need to own a Kindle to read a Kindle book, so they put this in here. And then, blasphemy, Amazon is giving you an ad for a different book, right? That's like, I don't want to curse. WTF, okay? And you know what? Let's see if it's the same author, because maybe that'll make it a little bit better. Let's see. I doubt it, but I will check. I don't have a Patrick here. No, these are. Oh, they're selling St. Patrick. Look, this isn't even a book. They send me to a search query. So why they think, you know, maybe the grade level of this book is kindergarten. I don't know. All right. So basically, what's that?
There's something wrong with this picture.
yeah, there's something really wrong with this picture, and it's really disheartening a little bit for authors, I have to say. Amazon has amazing tools to help you sell, and I really love Amazon for it, but sometimes they just get greedy. Okay, so really, this person thought they were going to be really smart, and now you can't really do it easily anymore, but they put the headline of this is their book description, by the way, it's the beginning of their book description, and what they did was they made this headline in Amazon gold colors, okay? So they thought that would stand out, right? But, guys, don't do it. Look, you scroll down, you think this is more Amazon crap, right? This doesn't look like anything, right? Is this catching your eye, Don?
Absolutely not.
You didn't even know yeah, you didn't know it was it. So don't do this. The best way to do it is to actually make it one row in black and then either underline it or have some punctuation there so people can see, what it is. Make it bigger, fine. But don't do this. And then, really, Amazon is now also cutting off most of the book description, okay? And then they have a show more link right here, show more. And most people, I would say 75% of the people at least, are not going to see that show more link unless they look for it, unless they have a reason to look for it, unless they really want to find out more. And so everything that's above the fold, so to speak, for the book description, it needs to be really catchy, right? And so this, I mean, I'm appalled at the waste of space here. We call it just pixels. There's a lot of white space here. So they used an entire row of text for one word. Adventures, then another row for mystery, then another one for suspense, then another one for the fact that it actually happened. If I had all this space, and I do, I have books, but if this were my book, man, I would be using all this space that's now blue to write, to entice, to copyright something, right?
Yeah, I mean, what they have there makes absolutely no sense. Even if I was interested in that book, it would still make no sense to me.
Yeah. And so then, if we do click on the show more, we'll talk in a minute about what we should be doing because we don't want to be negative all the time. Now, I'm not going to read this whole description, but I will point out a few things and save you the trouble. You know what, Don? Why don't you, since you described it so well, what do you feel when you read this book description?
You want to know what I honestly feel?
Yeah, honestly.
Not reading it.
Not reading it.
I mean, I read the first line, and it still doesn't make any sense. It is almost impossible to classify and quantify the elasticity and depth of our imagination. Okay, what the hell does that have to do with your book?
You know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the spam comments I get on my websites. It's like
I'm sorry.
They're trying to be all-inclusive without offending anyone, without actually saying anything.
Our purpose here is definitely not to bash anybody, and to help you write a better book description. So what we're doing is finding a really bad example, unfortunately, and so hopefully you can take this and learn from it. But basically, what it's doing is that first line that I read in the description confuses me. So, what motivation do I have as a consumer to read any further? Why should this entice me? Why would I have even clicked on the show more thing to begin with after those first 3 lines of whatever it said?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't even seem to describe the book at all to me.
Absolutely. So should we let's get a good example,
Yeah. Let's
get a good
let's
one.
do some good stuff now.
Yeah, let's get some good karma in here now. And let's take a look at one of the book descriptions you actually helped write. And let's talk about the elements, and then we can sort of remember what was wrong here, because sometimes it's easier to look at something good than it is at something bad. So let's go search for hand commercial. I don't remember if does it have one L or two L's? There we go. Okay, so let's talk about the title, and then let's talk about the book description. Okay, and so you just as before we get into it, Don, I just want to point out I'm scrolling down the page, right? And you can see this is the book description. This is all the stuff that you get to write. This is the amount that we could get in before the show more link. So you can tell that there's a book description here, right?
Right, and the show more makes a lot more sense in this context, because if you've already read those lines, then you realize, oh, there's a show more link. And with the other book, I didn't even see the show more. I was just kind of sitting there going, what's this, you know?
Yeah. And so let's get into it. One other thing I want to point out about the other page was that they had their one-liners, they were bold, and you taught me this years ago that when you write in bold online, it's like screaming at someone, right?
Yeah, you want to, if you're going to do any bolding, you want to be very selective about the bolding.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is kind of really advanced copywriting stuff, but you bold certain words that are key emotional words. So if you have somebody scanning, let's say, a page like this for a book description, or even in sales pages, if they're just kind of looking up and down and their eyes are only catching the bolded words, those words are actually selling at the same time that they're scanning and painting a picture of the whole big picture, the whole story, without them having to read every single line. And what will normally happen is after they're done scanning, and if you've captured their interest enough, they're going to go right back up to the top and read everything word for word.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great tip. Thank you, guys. If you're watching this, or if you're not on live, you're watching the replay, you guys should write this stuff down. It's pure gold. So what really happened, Don?
What really happened? So first off, in the headline, it's asking a question, and people love questions. They want to know what's going on. And so B-29 pilot reveals all about surviving the Depression, the Cold War, nuking Japan, Roswell aliens, guardian angels. I mean, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Just as it stands. And all I did in writing that headline is that's what the book's about, you know, and that's certain things that he referenced. So you take the juicy stuff, and the word reveal is probably, or reveals, that's a great word to use, you know, reveals anything. And then when you're talking about, you know, the bombing of Japan and aliens, and I mean, that's total controversial stuff. I mean, this is the kind of thing that if you go to the grocery store and, you know, buy the National Enquirer or any other tabloid magazine, if you look at the headlines there, it's usually, you know, aliens and Obama have summit in Peru or something. You know? I mean, people buy that stuff. I mean, those are some of the best copywriters in the world. So I try to put the headline as close to anything like that as I can, because it's going to make you curious enough, and curiosity is the key, to read a little bit more. So then you're going to go back down to the description and say, wow, this is kind of interesting, so what's this all about, right?
Yeah. So we've got curiosity, we've got a question, we've got words that sort of hint that they're more interesting, like reveal. and the high intrigue factor, I would say, in this headline, it's really good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So once you see this headline, I mean, you know, I'm biased, but you know, actually, this is a really good and interesting book. So when you get to the book description, it needs to make sense. It needs to tie in. It needs to sort of tell you a little bit about what's going on, right? So let's take a little bit of a peek here at the whole book description, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you did in terms of the structure of it?
Okay, well, the structure is really simple. I mean, basically, the headline made a really bold claim to make you want to read more, right? And so, in the description, what I wanted to do was back up those claims and talk about a little bit more in depth what's in the book without obviously giving everything away. But, I mean, this is about Hank and what it was like in the Depression and the Roswell alien conspiracy, and he was in the Korean conflict, you know, and all that kind of stuff, and he has a really unique perspective to it, so that really backs up the headline, you know, as opposed to the last book we looked at, nothing backed up anything. It was, you know, obviously just gibberish, as far as I'm concerned. And in the second line of here, here's a little secret for you. Notice the first word is imagine. Whenever you use that word in the first sentence, or as the first word of a sentence, it's almost, dare I say, a hypnotic command. Because when people see that word, imagine, they start to literally imagine. And you put them in a state of, okay, I'm going to imagine, and so what do I want them to imagine what it was like back then? And imagine early in life going through the boot camp and then eventually transferring into the Air Force, become a B-29 bomber pilot who escaped death on many occasions. So that's what I want you to imagine, and that's what the person reading this is going to imagine. Basically because you told them to. So that's one of the best words you can ever use in copy, is imagine.
Yep. Then here you shift gears and you go into questions.
Right, and they're still in the imagine mode.
Mm-hmm.
Imagining what if you're flying over Japan and dropping bombs, you know? I mean, good Lord, I'm imagining that right now. I mean, that's... I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
You know, so to be in that spot, it's like, wow. Now I'm wondering, what is it like, or what was it like for this guy to be flying in an airplane, dropping frickin' bombs on human beings, you know?
Yeah.
And what was it? Yeah, and then obviously after that, you know, dropping the A-bomb on Nagasaki, and if you didn't know that was part of your payload in your plane, I mean, holy smokes!
Yeah, that's crazy. And you know what I like about the second part of this section is that you know, you're continuing the imagine, going into the questions, and really getting you to think about it, and then you're introducing some intrigue about details that you probably don't know that are in the book. So to me, this says, okay, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know Nagasaki was a secondary target. I wonder what else I don't know that he can tell me, you know?
It's basically, in a nutshell, the whole description and the whole title is all about creating intrigue, curiosity, and, you know, as I say, curiosity killed the cat. And as human beings, we're just curious by nature.
Yeah.
And that is probably the best selling point you could ever use to get people hooked. And as long as you deliver on the other end, that's the important part. So when they're curious, you have your description, you have your title and all that. They buy your book, and then when you deliver in your book, to make them go, wow. geez, that was quite a something, you know.
Yeah.
And they're going to be a happy customer of yours for the rest of your life when you publish out, more books, create a series, whatever it is your plans are with your books. But that really is the key. Then you have them on your, in your database, and every time you release something new, you're basically the golden child as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, I totally agree. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the last sentence here and how it's really a close? What a last sentence in a description should really do, and maybe some tips to our authors about how they can give it a good close.
Okay, so this book will give you an insight like never before about the truth. Now that's really provocative, because we all have our own definition of the truth. The truth for you could be completely different from me. And then to go further, you might even find yourself questioning your own reality and beliefs. And that's almost like that's like poking somebody with a stick in their side, where there's a particular spot right underneath your rib cage. If you poke it, that makes people flinch.
Yeah.
I kind of like doing that because people don't like to have their beliefs questioned. They don't
Yeah.
like to have people even suggesting that what they believe is wrong.
Yeah.
And when you make that suggestion, their instinct is going to be to go right into it and say, well, all right, let's see what this person's talking about as far as my beliefs. Especially if somebody's reading this and they don't believe in conspiracy theories, as an example. They say, oh, I'm going to go prove this guy wrong.
Yeah.
Things like that. So,
especially when we're talking about Roswell and aliens.
yeah, I mean, that's a really controversial subject for a lot of people, and there's so many different theories and concepts about that. So I was basically sticking a big old stick in somebody's side.
What's that?
Oh, I was sticking a big stick in somebody's side.
Yeah, a real goad there. It's also kind of a dare, right? You're daring me to question my own reality and beliefs.
Exactly. And people love a dare.
I love a dare. Awesome. So this is a really good example of what to do. Amazing tips, Don. Really, thank you. That's incredible. Let's talk. Let's see if we have any questions. Let me go back to me being me. And okay, stop the sharing. And there we go. Hello. So, in my study. Oh, my laptop is now making a lot of noise because it could sense the energy coming in here. So, let's see if we have any questions. And why don't you give us a few tips for fiction writing, while I'm checking out what's going on YouTube and on the site.
I'm going to just admit that that's not my forte, but when I do look at it, I think good descriptions for...
let's see if we have any questions. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I went to YouTube to see if we have questions. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. When it comes to fiction, it's really not my forte. But when I see I'll just take my son as an example, who's a huge fiction buff, and he likes, actually, he wants to be a writer in the fiction genre, like J.K. Rowling's and like that, Harry Potter, all that. And so when I kind of study that a little bit, and I look at the descriptions and I look at the titles, some of it also has to do with the imagery.
Yeah.
and having a really good image that kind of paints the picture of the fantasy that somebody wants to go into. So if you look at like romance novels that a lot of ladies like, there's usually some image of a really burly man, holding a lady in his arms or something like that, and in the wizardry or Harry Potter genre or whatever, there's a bunch of magic and stuff like that, and they're very short and sweet, but
Yeah.
they still say this is what this is about, and you know exactly what you're getting into. And once you got that part down, I mean, your description could actually stink. But if you've caught your audience already and they know this is exactly what this is about and this is what I'm into, it kind of like, there's an old saying in copywriting that Gary Bencivenga was famous for saying, that is a gifted product is mightier than a gifted pen. So if you've got the product and you already have the audience, if you can write the worst copy in the world, but people already understand what your book is about, they're going to buy it. You know? So it all comes down to, I don't care if it's fiction or nonfiction, it all comes down to knowing your audience and what they like. And sometimes that's going to be different than what you like. And
Yes.
that we need to accept that as writers,
Yes. Especially if, I know a lot of people that are publishing under different pen names, and they have several books in different genres, and that's one of the reasons for the pen names, because it's going to look funny if you're, the author of a romance novel and then you also wrote some book on mathematics or something. It's not really going to add up. Not that it can't happen. Of course it can happen, but, it's just not good for sales.
Right.
So that's one of these authors is in writing the descriptions, because they really, because they're so diversified and they write to so many different audiences, it's hard sometimes to focus on your one audience and talk to them in one voice, and we started off talking about a little bit about the voice of the person that you're talking to and speaking in their language, and that's sort of like the background thread that needs to be there in everything that you do online, whether it's on your website or, it's on Amazon. If it's in your book, the first parts of your book are also super critical. We're not going to talk about that now, but, there are a lot of additional elements that help you sell on Amazon, but it helps to have a good title that makes sense or something enticing, and follow some of the tips that we gave you here today. So, Don, any last gems before we break off for the day?
Oh, not that I can think of. It's kind of sticking to the basics. I guess the only thing I can say is when it comes to sticking to the basics, it really is. I mean, people tend to really overcomplicate the wheel, and guess what? Guilty. All right? Myself included. But when you get back just to the basics, that's really good, what's going to make it. And the best metaphor I can use for that, if you happen to play music, if you're a musician, you'll know this. I've been playing guitar for 30-something years. And back when I was a teenager, we all wanted to be Eddie Van Halen fast, doing all this kind of stuff. And then I realized, probably after 10 years of trying to do that the most basic chords, just doing like a B to a C to a G, can make the most beautiful music in the world if done properly and correctly and sticking to those basics. And the same thing comes down to it when you're writing and when you're writing your description. Keep it simple, keep it basic, and you'll probably see a lot more success with your titles and your and your descriptions just doing that.
Totally. Very, very good advice. Keep it simple. keep it basic. And you know what struck me that, guys, you should notice that Don said when he's thinking of headlines and of book titles, you know, you're right, like 10 of them down, and it's a process. It's not like the first thing you're going to think of is going to be the end-all, be-all. So I would say have faith, take those creative juices, and it's going to happen. So believe in it and go through the steps. You can't get there without walking the path.
Awesome.
All right, well, thank you so much, Don, for being here today and sharing some of your insights on copywriting with us. And to all you guys out there. Oh, wait, we have a contest winner we have to announce.
Great.
What's that?
Thank you so much for allowing me.
It's my honor to have you here. Let's get one of my favorite comments, Bob Masterson. If you're watching now, great. If not, we're going to email you. You have won yourself a free book description review from Don. That I would have to say. Hire a copywriter to write you some high-selling copy. It's going to cost you. So make good use of this. And Bob answered on the site. We asked, what do you think about this book? How did this author screw the pooch, right? What's wrong with the book description on the first one that we dissected today? And Bob said, not sure, but it seems like there's no description. Good job, very perceptive. And we'll be in touch. And to all you guys, tune in next time, and you might win some cool prize too. So until next time, this is Shira from PublishingWithKindle.com with Dawn Grace, Superman copywriter extraordinaire, wishing you guys a creative and wonderful day, evening, morning, or whatever. All right, take care, guys. See you soon.